I made a second trip to Tororo last week. I really like the town. It's quiet and clean, and the landscape includes jutting rocky towers and broad valley vistas. I wanted to hear some traditional wedding music from the district that I could use in the soundtrack of a story on bride price customs. My friend Patrick made the arrangements for me. He knows a lot of people there because he attended college in Tororo, about 250 kilometers northeast of Kampala, and he called some old friends to help. When we got to Tororo, the first stop was to visit Patrick's friends in the rural village of Magoro on the outskirts of town. Patrick lived here when he was a college student. Haruna Selenjogi and Lukia Sengabada are a farm couple in their 60s who are raising 9 grandchildren who were orphaned when their fathers, Haruna and Lukia's 2 sons, both passed away several years ago. They raise beans, maize, and cassava on their 4 acres of land and keep about 10 cows. Their house is an ancient mud and wattle structure with a rusted and much patched galvanized steel roof. The house faces a small farmyard, which is the center of family life and work. Their widowed daughter-in-law, called Mama Bibi, also lives here. The village includes about 25 families who farm their own land, but they jointly own a tractor and a grain milling machine, which they take turns using. During the year, the families help each other with harvesting, planting, and large construction projects. Haruna took us to see Awori Owaga, the traditional chief of the village, who was arranging the music for us. He had already invited a group of women dancers and children who would sing some of the traditional wedding music I wanted to hear. I asked if there would be any instruments besides drums in the band, and the chief said one of the villagers was a pretty good adungu player. That's the 11-string harp that's a staple of traditional Ugandan music. So the chief and I and Patrick and Haruna hopped on bodabodas and drove over to talk to Ochola to see if he would come over to perform. Happily, he was home when we got to his farm, and he cheerfully agreed to join the party. The performance was at 5 p.m. at the chief's compound. There are 2 houses in the compound, a separate kitchen building, and sheds for animals. There are also 2 large wood and reed granaries, each about 10 feet high and 6 to 8 feet in diameter, accessed by a ladder going up to an opening in the top. Fields of maize, cassava, sorghum, and beans spread out around the compound. There were 12 women dancers, 3 drummers, a thumb piano player, and the udungo player, and 2 children playing handmade tambourines made of bottle caps strung on wires in wooden frames. The music lasted for over an hour. The women danced and sang, punctuating the words with dramatic ululations. They pulled all the guests up to dance with them at some point in the music, me and Patrick and Janet and Tara, 2 friends from Mifumi, who had helped me with the bride price interviews the week before. Janet translated some of the song lyrics for me. In one of the songs, a young man laments, "Because I have no cows, I can't get married, even though I am at the right age." In another song, a father offers his daughter in marriage, but says, "Poverty is bad. I have to sell off my daughter. This is my girl. This is the one I want." The music was intense and energetic, with driving rhythms from the drum section and the lyrical notes of the udungu floating above the harmonies of the women as they sang and danced. I was totally captivated and swept up into the music. It was one of the most engaging musical performances I've ever seen. The idyllic pastoral setting, the beauty of the women and their motion and their voices, and the steady drum rhythms all combined in one intense, sensual experience. After the performance, we thanked the dancers and musicians and the organizers intensely, and they all implored us to come back again when they would stage an even bigger show for us with bigger adungus, more drums, and more songs and dances. Rain was threatening, so Patrick and Janet and I set out for a nearby pub, which we reached just as a storm broke. We watched the storm from a breezy enclosed veranda, drinking Pepsi and Fanta. Later, Patrick and I paid a farewell visit to Harun and Lukia and picked up a 50-kilo sack of red beans, which we took back to Kisa School in Nansana.
Hilaf. Head of Chakuman.